All right, friends, welcome back to the Blessed Family Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Dodd. Welcome, blessings to you. I've got a stack of books on this table, and you know we're going to have fun with that because books rock. Today's podcast was inspired by a gentleman I met in Kansas City, Missouri, who came up to me with a beautiful question. He said, Brother Jared, as a husband, as a father, I need to learn. What are some books I can read? And I gave him a few, but I thought, you know what? Let's do a podcast and let's put this out to all husbands and fathers or mothers who want to raise strong men. Here we go. This is going to be sweet and short. I've got 7 books. Some others might come to mind. One just did come to mind. I'll mention it later if I recall. If not, it'll drive you crazy. Oh, by the way, we've got a convention coming up. It's going to be November 13th through the 17th in East Texas. Go to jareddodd.com. And there's a page there about 2024 convention. It's our first ever convention that we're putting on. And it would really be good if you were there. So if you want to be encouraged, strengthened in your faith, if you want to meet some amazing Christian people, come on out and help us try to be part of the solution and try to be part of, by God's grace, this amazing thing Christ is doing, which is putting all of his enemies under his feet. All right, friends, here we go. Book number 1. Well, hey, first of all, let me just say this. To be a man is to be a learner. So right now I'm talking to men. I'm talking to sons. To be a man is to be a learner. And with all due respect, men who don't like to read, which let me just tell you, this is something I've been overcoming because I wasn't a reader growing up. But men who don't like to read need to fix that. We need to read, and we need to read good books. And I can prove that to you because how did God give us his revelation? He gave it to us in a book, 66 books, the Holy Bible. So books are great. Read these books. Friends, if you read 30 minutes a day, you could read all these books in a year. No problem. 30 minutes a day, okay? Just read. Even if it's every time you're using the restroom, if you get the audiobook driving to work, many men commute and half an hour easily every day. Invest in these audiobooks, listen to them. Most of these are on the Canon Plus app. So you get the Canon Plus app. Well, now you have them all paid for. You can listen to them whenever you want to. It keeps your place on the app. It's really, really good. Okay, first of all, let's start with some Michael Foster. It's Good to Be a Man. Right here, Michael Foster, It's Good to Be a Man. A handbook for godly masculinity. It's Michael Foster and Dominic Tennant. I'm sure he always gets left out. My son Isaiah was reading this book and he took it to work. And one of the female employees took issue with it. She was like, that offends me. And, he was very gentle, well, as gentle as Isaiah can be. And he was like, would you rather me not think it's good to be a man? Like, would you rather me think, no, it's not good to be a man? Yes, it is good to be a man. And if God made you a woman, it's good to be a woman. But this is all about being men. Some of the chapters here, the war between patriarchies. Masculinity is very good. Sex is very good. The war on sex. Spiritual war and spiritual worship. The church effeminate. No fatherhood, no manhood. No gravitas, no manhood. The excellence of marriage, how to bear the weight, the gravitas through duty. This is just really, really good. It's a very masculine book. Oh, I just thought of a book, Masculine Christianity. You can check that out too. That's a really good book, also on Canon Plus. But I would highly recommend this. That's book number 1, just how to be a man, how to be masculine. We need to get our testosterone back. We need to be masculine men. We need to be manly men. If you're a man, you need to be manly. Okay, next book, number 2, Future Men, Raising Boys to Fight Giants. I had to throw at least one Wilson in here. This is all about raising boys. And if you have the Canon Plus app, you can go on. They have a documentary series on that. So, hey, if you want to cheat and say, you know what, I don't want to read the book, I want to watch the film, go for it. I will allow that. As I flip through this, so much of it is underlined, all kinds of comments. Let me give you some of the chapters here. The Shape of Masculinity, A Call for Fathers, A Covenant Home, Doctrinal Meat. It talks about secret sin, tolerated sin. It talks about church and worship, giants, dragons, and books, friends, fights, sporting and competition, courtship and betrothal. It's just got all kinds of good stuff in here. So I would encourage you to check this out, Future Men. And it says from the best-selling family series. So this is part of a series. I'm guessing in this series are book that Wilson's wrote, like Children Matter. It's a lot of good books. I try to only give one book per author when I do a list. So there is Doug Wilson, Future Men. Check it out. So that's about raising sons. All right, hey, let's go on and let's get some C.R. Wiley in here. He's got some good books. This is one called Man of the House. Man of the House, the tagline is a handbook for building a shelter that will last in a world that is falling apart. C.R. Wiley, had the honor of meeting him at a convention last year. I believe that was last year in the fall. So he talks about covenants. He talks about one flesh, husband and wife. He talks about the economy of love, property, work, help, justice, gravitas, once again, piety. You know, piety is a word that most of us can't even, up until recently, I couldn't even define that word. All society and men especially used to know that word. Friendship, legacy, the principalities. And you know what? This is a short book. This is a short book. Future Men's a short book. Check it out. Man of the House, C.R. Wiley. All right, let's go back and get a book that's older. Usually older is better. Not always, but sometimes it is. Often it is. This is a book called The Family. It was originally titled Homemaking. It's by J.R. Miller. It was republished a decade and a half ago under the title Family. It was published in 1882. And Pastor Miller, I believe he was a pastor, did an amazing job. I've had some girls that have been engaged in our church read this. It really blesses them. And check out just how simply this is laid out. These are the chapters: the wedded life, the husband's part, the wife's part, the parent's part, the child's part, brothers and sisters, the home life, religion in the home memories. And so you can even skip around here and say, okay, let's start with the husband's part. And maybe men, you get this and you just read the wedded life and the husband's part to start out with, but read the whole thing eventually. But this is a beautiful book. We do this some for our family devotions. This is really good. The Family. All right, speaking of devotions, this is one that you might not think would be in a list of books for men to read, but it's the best devotional book second to the Bible. Maybe Aesop's Fables, but I think it even in today's day and age goes before that. It's called Trial and Triumph, Stories from Church History. It's by Richard Hanula. This is also published by Canon Press. And this book is good for men to read because men, if you're anything like me, you didn't grow up with the best heroes. Like growing up, my heroes were superheroes that are fictitious. I'm not saying it's wrong to like superheroes, but what about, let me just read some of these. What about Polycarp? What about Constantine? What about Athanasius? What about Patrick? What about Boniface? There's a great book, by the way, called The Boniface Option. I would put that on this list of books for men to read also. What about Alfred the Great? I'm just skipping through. There's 40 men mentioned. John Knox, Martin Luther, John Wesley, David Livingstone, William Carey, the father of modern missions, John Bunyan, wrote Pilgrim's Progress, Jonathan Edwards, George Whitefield, Charles Spurgeon, C.S. Lewis, Richard Wurmbrand, Abraham Kuyper. This is a book that helps men learn from other men that are long gone what it means to be a man. So this is a must-have. Really, this is a must-have. All right, we got a couple more here. Okay, this one I have not read. All of these books thus far, I've read all of them or the vast majority of them. I've read all of them except for The Family. I've read a bunch of that, but those are good books. This one I have not read. My wife teases me because she's like, I read my book, The Excellent Wife. Jared, you need to read your book, The Exemplary Husband. Of course, I could joke back and be a smart aleck and say, well, I am, but we all know, you know, and she definitely knows, and I know that's not true. Forward by John MacArthur. This is by Stuart Scott. And this is a book that you could skip around in. It talks about a husband's understanding of God, of man and sin, of relationships, of marriage. Then part 2 is a husband's responsibility. Worship Christ only. Love. Leadership part 1. Leadership part 2. Physical intimacy. Stewardship. For a good marriage, physical intimacy needs to be not taboo. It needs to be addressed. So I'm really glad these books write about it. Part 3, a husband's resolves, humility and service, sensitivity, helping his wife deal with her sin, good communication, conflict resolution. There's some wives listening to this saying amen. And then a husband's regrets, fatal sins of the exemplary husband would be anger, anxiety, fear, lust. And so I pretty much just went through the whole book. This is a really good book. It looks pretty thick, but it's spaced in the middle. So I have not read this book. I'm preaching to me as well. I need to check it out. The last book I have on this list that I don't have and I haven't read is a book called If He Only Knew. And I think that's by Dr. Gary. Is it? I get these doctors confused. There's Kevin Lehman, and then there's Gary Small. I might completely be butchering the name and twisting it, but it's called If He Only Knew. There's also a book, If She Only Knew. And, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And so we need to get the other person's perspective. So I would encourage you to check that out. Another good book that just came to mind would be the book To Train Up a Child. But hey, men, listen, you need to read books. And we need to be learners. And so my challenge to you is, you say, oh, Jared, I know, get all 7 of these and read them. No, pick one. Just pick one. Pick one book on here. It's Good to Be a Man, Future Men, Man of the House, The Family, Trial and Triumph, The Exemplary Husband, If He Only Knew. Get one book and read it. And if you do get one book, this is going to sound bad, but I wouldn't recommend If He Only Knew. If you're only going to get one book, I would recommend either one of the other ones. I've just read them. I'm not familiar with If You Only Knew, but I've got a lot of good friends that have read it and said it was awesome. So, okay, fine. I recant what I just said. Erase it from the record. Just get one of these books and commit to reading it. And you commit to reading it by just setting aside a few minutes a day. This goes to Doug Wilson's book, Productivity, which was a game changer for me as far as reading and writing and getting stuff done. So just get the book and read it. Little bits at a time, and learn and grow. So men, we need to be, the main thing I want you to take away from this podcast is we need to be educated. We need to self-educate. And we do that by and large by getting these books from great men and women and putting their thoughts, infusing them into our brains and being transformed. This is why books are so amazing. All right, friends. Hey, short and sweet, but I hope helpful. We are here for you. We are your full-time missionaries. Reach out to us. Please pray about coming out to our convention. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's an amazing venue in Grapeland, Texas. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but it's really, really cool. I say out in the middle of nowhere. It's a small town, but that kind of makes it really cool. So check it out, and hopefully we'll see you then. Blessings to you. Bye-bye.